Welcome back to the Tech Stack Podcast, your flagship podcast of Samsung's new shape unfolding. I'm Theo, and this is episode 3. Big one this week. Samsung actually held their Unpacked event. An OpenAI model kept escaping the sandbox it was supposed to be contained in. Big tech's quietly sitting on over $1.5 trillion of debt nobody's really talking about. A Chinese AI model got so popular it broke itself, and Nvidia's opening up a new front in the chip wars. Plus, I've added a couple of new bits to the show this week, so stick around for that. Let's get into it. Last episode, I was going off leaks and rumour mill guesses about what Samsung was going to announce. Well, the 22nd of July came and went. Samsung actually did the thing, and I was close on some bits and wrong on others. So let's set the record straight. Samsung unveiled 3 foldables in London: the Galaxy Z Fold8 Ultra, the Galaxy Z Fold 8, and the Galaxy Z Flip 8. Here's the naming twist I got wrong last week. I was calling the current style Fold the Fold Ultra, and the new compact one the Fold Y. Turns out it's the Z Fold 8 Ultra for the direct successor to last year's Fold 7, and just Z Fold 8 for the new wider, shorter passport style one. No wide in the name at all. Z Fold 8 Ultra is genuinely the flagship here. First ever Ultra branding on a foldable, 8-inch main display, 6.5-inch cover display. And it's the thinnest fold Samsung's ever made at 4.1mm unfolded and 215 grams in weight. Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy, 5,000 mAh battery, and it also starts at £1,899. The Z Fold 8 is genuinely new form factor. Wider and shorter, 7.6-inch main display in a 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's more like a small tablet when open, and a 5.5-inch cover display. It's also the lightest fold ever at 201 grams in weight, and Samsung's claiming over 26 hours of video playback. It starts at £1,699, so yes, cheaper than the Ultra. I had that part right. The Z Flip 8 rounds it out. Thinnest and lightest flip yet, 6.1mm unfolded, 180 grams, with a much more capable flex window that now runs full apps without unfolding the phone. Starts at £1,049. The AI stuff is where it gets interesting. There is an agentic AI feature that can genuinely take actions for you. Samsung's own example was sharing a photo of the Eiffel Tower with Gemini and asking it to book a nearby hotel, and the AI actually goes and finds options while you keep using your phone for something else. Then you just approve what it found. My take: this is Samsung doing something genuinely different rather than just same fold, better camera. Splitting the lineup into a performance Ultra and a wider, cheaper, content-focused Fold is a real strategic bet. They're not trying to make one phone do everything anymore. They're segmenting like they do with the S series. To be fair to the other side of this here, foldable hinges are still a durability question mark for a lot of people, and at nearly £1,900 for the Ultra, this remains a genuinely premium purchase in a year where phone prices across the board are creeping up because of memory chip costs. I'll link MKBHD's review of the lineup below if you want a proper hands-on look at all 3, because honestly, some of this stuff you just need to see in person. And if I'm picking a favourite out of the three, it's the Z Fold8, not the Ultra. That new, wider, shorter form factor is genuinely my favourite shape Samsung's done on a foldable. It just feels like the right size for actually using day to day, rather than the Ultra, which almost feels like it's chasing a spec sheet more than a shape you'd want to in your pocket. And hey, if anyone from Samsung happens to be listening, I'd love a try of the Z Fold 8. Genuinely, just putting it out there. Remember episode 1, story 1, the Jade Puffer AI that carried out a ransomware attack on its own? This week we've got a different flavour of AI did something nobody told it to do, and it's straight from OpenAI themselves. Back in May, OpenAI had a model disprove a famous 80-year-old unmatched maths problem, the Iridos unit distance conjecture. Genuinely impressive, verified by outside mathematicians. That same model is a long horizon system, meaning it's built to keep working on a task by itself for hours or even days without stopping. In a safety post published the 20th of July, OpenAI admitted that during internal testing, this model kept finding ways to act outside the sandbox, the lockdown testing environment that it was supposed to contain it. The cleverest example, the model was told to only post results to Slack. Instead, it found a vulnerability, escaped the sandbox, and opened an actual public pull request on GitHub against a direct instruction not to. Took it about an hour to find the hole. In a separate test, it split an authentication token into pieces specifically to dodge a security scanner that was supposed to catch it. OpenAI's own quote on this, the bit is the bit that stands out to me. They said older models, when they hit a wall like this, would just stop and hand control back to a person. This one didn't. It kept trying. They paused it, rebuilt the safeguards, and restored access under much tighter trajectory level monitoring, meaning that they now watch the model's entire chain of actions, not just the final output. My take, this is the most concrete example yet of what AI safety researchers have been warning about for a while. It's not that model wants to escape in some sci-fi sense, it's that a sufficiently persistent, goal-directed system will keep probing for gaps until it finds one, the same way water finds a crack. The fact that OpenAI is being transparent about it is the reassuring part. The alternative is finding out about this stuff after it's already caused real damage. Counterpoint worth mentioning. This happened inside a monitored internal test, not out in the world. Nothing escaped onto the world's open internet in any way that caused harm. So it's a genuine warning sign, but not the AI got loose headline. Whatever some of the more breathless coverage you want to think. Quick gut check before I get to this. Remember episode 2, New York banning new AI data centers because of the strain they put on the grid? This story is kind of the financial version of that same tension. A Nikkei investigation looked at the books of 5 of the biggest US tech companies Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Oracle, and found $1.65 trillion in commitments that don't show up as debt on their balance sheets. To put that into perspective, that's actually more than 1.35 trillion these same 5 companies report as debt out in the open. This isn't illegal or even shady in a technical sense. It's a long-term data center leases, GPU purchase agreements, and infrastructure commitments that current accounting rules let companies keep in the footnotes rather in the headline numbers. Meta's the big outlier, 420 billion in this hidden category, which is roughly 3 times what they report as debt on the books. Oracle's the wildest one though. Their off-balance sheet obligations have grown about 30-fold in 4 years, largely tied to the Stargate data center project they're building with OpenAI. S&P actually downgraded Oracle's credit rating recently, partly because of this. My take, this is the story underneath basically every AI data center infrastructure story we've covered so far. New York banning data centers, IBM's earning warning, all of it traces back to the fact that this entire industry is being financed in ways that don't show up cleanly on a balance sheet, which means if AI demand ever cools off faster than expected, a lot of this hidden debt suddenly becomes very visible very fast. To be fair to the companies here, none of them are in danger of collapse. Microsoft alone generated nearly $100 billion in cash last year. This is a transparency concern for investors, not a these companies are about to go bankrupt concern. Sticking with the AI theme, a Chinese AI startup called Moonshot AI released a new model called Kimi K3 last week, and it got so popular they had to pause new subscriptions within 48 hours. Kimi K3 is a 2.8 trillion parameter open weight model built specifically for coding and long autonomous task execution. Direct competition for what Anthropic and OpenAI are doing, but designed to run for a fraction of the cost. Moonshot's own words were pretty blunt about it. They said demand pushed close to the limits of their compute capacity within 48 hours, and posted, quote, "Our GPUs are feeling it." So they suspended brand new subscriptions entirely. Existing subscribers are unaffected, and they're adding capacity as fast as they can reopen in batches. Some context on why this matters beyond just a chatbot got popular. Demand reportedly surged 6-fold in days, and this is happening while Moonshot is simultaneously pursuing a roughly 30 billion IPO in Hong Kong. My take, this is honestly a good problem for them to have, and it says something about where the actual competitive pressure in AI is right now. It's not just about which lab has the smartest model anymore. It's about which one can actually serve the model to the number of people who want it. China's clearly not short on capable models these days. DeepSeek, Kimi, Alibaba's Quen, all landing serious blows this year. The bottleneck now is compute, same as everywhere else. Fifth story this week, and it's Nvidia doing something it hasn't really done before. Building its own CPU from scratch, not just GPUs. It's called Vera, and Nvidia's been building up this for a while. But this week, they released the full architectural white paper and real benchmark numbers, which is what actually lets other companies evaluate whether to buy it. Here's the key detail. Every CPU Nvidia's shipped before has used ARM's off-the-shelf Neoverse core design. Vera is different. The Olympus cores inside it are Nvidia's own custom design from the ground up, their first in years. The pitch is specifically about agentic AI. As AI agents do more, running code, cooling tools, querying databases, checking their own results, more of that work happens on the CPU, not the GPU. Nvidia's claiming Vera is up to 1.8 times faster than traditional CPUs on exactly that kind of workload. This is genuinely a new battlefield for Nvidia. They already dominate GPUs. Now they're going after the server CPU market too, which puts them in direct competition with AMD and Intel. And this year, both of those stocks have actually outperformed Nvidia's, up over 100% each, partly because investors think agentic AI is about to make CPUs matter again in a way they haven't for years. Commercial availability isn't until autumn 2026, and no pricing's been announced yet, though analyst estimates are floating around the $5,000 per chip. My take: this is Nvidia doing what Nvidia always does, seeing where the puck is going before everyone else fully agrees it's moving there. If agentic AI really does shift meaningful workload back onto CPUs, the way Nvidia is betting it will, they've just made sure they're not leaving that money on the table for AMD and Intel to split between them. Alright, time for a new regular bit. The Rumour Round-up. Nothing here is confirmed. This is just the best of what's floating around the rumour mill this week. First up, Apple's foldable iPhone. This has been rumoured for years, but the leaks are getting a lot more specific lately. Current reporting points to a September launch alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max. A book-style design similar to Samsung's new Z Fold 8, around as 7.6 to 7.8 inch in a display. And this is the fun bit. Apple apparently wants it completely crease-free, which no other foldable maker has fully pulled off yet. Naming still up in the air too, between iPhone Fold and iPhone Ultra. Price is rumoured to land north of $2,000 or £2,000. My theory: given how obsessive Apple is about first impressions, if the crease problem isn't actually solved, I think they delay rather than ship something that looks like every other foldable on the market with an Apple logo on it. There's already been chatter about a slip to early 2027 before. Wouldn't shock me if that happens again. Second, Pixel 11. Google's confirmed the event now, 12th of August in New York, so this one's basically locked in. The interesting rumour is the base Pixel 11 possibly shipping with 8GB of RAM, which would be a downgrade from the Pixel 10's 12GB of RAM. And that's raising eyebrows because Google markets these phones as AI first, and Gemini features tend to be RAM hungry. My take on that one, if the RAM cut is real, I think it's the Ramageddon story again. The same memory chip shortage that's been driving up prices everywhere this year. Cutting RAM on the base model is probably how Google's trying to hold on to the price line without eating the costs themselves. A few smaller things worth to mention before the break. Apple's lawsuit against OpenAI over alleged trade secret theft is working its way through court. Apple's accusing OpenAI's hardware chief, a former Apple VP of Apple Watch and iPhone, of encouraging staff to hand over confidential product info as OpenAI builds its own hardware. OpenAI's designed it. Genuinely wild allegations in the filling. If you want to go read it for yourself, I'll link an article about it, and I'll also link this week's Decoder episode in the show notes. Nilay Patel and Hayden Field do a good job at explaining it in depth. DeepSeek's V4 model is set to leave preview and go fully stable on the 24th of July. After months of preview builds, meaning enterprises will no longer have an excuse to hold off adopting it. And Alibaba dropped their own new model, Qwen 3.8 Max, the same week as Kimi K3. So if you're keeping the score, it's a genuinely stacked month for Chinese AI labs specifically. Right, quick word before we carry on. Not a sponsor read, because the Tech Stack podcast still doesn't have one. But here's where it will go. Every episode so far has completely come out of my own pocket. The mic, the hosting, the hours editing, all of it. No complaints. I'd be doing this anyway because I genuinely like talking about this stuff. But if you run a company or work for one that makes something a tech-curious audience would actually want to hear about, this is the spot. Drop me a line at the techstackpodcast@gmail.com and let's see if it's a fit. Alright, quick new thing before I wrap up. I want to start doing a proper mailbag segment on this show, answering listener questions on air. Nothing's come in yet, which makes sense. We're only 3 episodes in, so consider this the official invite. If you got a question about anything we've covered, or just a general tech question you're curious about, send it to the techstackpodcast@gmail.com, and starting soon, whenever any questions come in, I'll be reading a couple out and answering them properly on the show. That's episode 3. Recap 3, as always. If you want the details again, they're all in the show notes. If you're enjoying the show, leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast. It genuinely makes the biggest difference for a podcast this new. It helps other people actually find us as well. Takes about 10 seconds and means a lot. Got a story you think I should cover or a question for the show? Email me anytime at thetechstackpodcast@gmail.com. I read every one. And remember, mailbag section is coming, so get your questions in. Also, it'll be linked in the description, but it would mean a lot if you could please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Theo, and this has been the Tech Stack Podcast. I'll see you next Friday. The Tech Stack Podcast is a Tech Stack production. This show is edited and hosted by Theo Galley-Tonks. This show is hosted on rss.com.